A silent cowboy pays just $3 to save a mysterious Apache woman, never knowing she's the missing wife of a powerful tribal chief. What follows shakes the entire frontier, turning danger into destiny and strangers into legends. Don't miss this incredible Wild West tale. Like the video, subscribe, and join us for every thrilling chapter. Let's get started. The Arizona frontier in 1884 stretched endlessly beneath a burning sun, a place where the wind carried both dust and whispers. Roads were scarce, trouble was common, and mercy was a rare language few understood. Among the riders who crossed that unforgiving land, one figure stood apart, Eli Mercer, the man locals called the Silent Cowboy. He spoke little, trusted few, and preferred letting actions shape his reputation. People said he had no family, no close friends, just a quiet code he lived by, help whenever the world turned cruel. And on that dry, fateful afternoon, cruelty was everywhere. Eli had planned only to refill his canteen and continue toward the next distant town, but the noise near the trading post pulled his attention. Voices rose, harsh and impatient, circling something or someone being displayed at the center. When Eli moved closer, dust swirling around his boots, the crowd parted just enough for him to see a young Apache woman with her wrists tied. Fear shadowed her face, but her posture carried dignity that defied her situation. A rogue trader barked bids, treating her as property. Eli's jaw tightened. He'd seen injustice before, but this felt especially wrong. The trader shouted exaggerated lies to raise the price, calling her dangerous one moment and harmless the next. Some men laughed, others hesitated, yet no one stepped up. Not out of morality, but out of fear. The Apache tribes commanded respect across the frontier, and anyone caught mistreating one risked consequences. Still, greed pushed the trader on. Eli's hand moved slowly to his saddlebag, his expression unreadable. He didn't make speeches or arguments. He simply walked forward, lifted $3 silver, and let them clink sharply onto the table. The sound cut through the noise like a sudden gunshot. The trader smirked, believing he had tricked another fool. "Take her," he grunted, pocketing the coins. Eli said nothing. He stepped toward the woman, cut the ropes cleanly, and offered his hand so she could mount his horse. She accepted, moving cautiously, as if unsure whether freedom could be trusted. Her eyes never left Eli's, studying him with a mix of suspicion and relief. Without a word, Eli led her away from the crowd. Behind them, the trader watched with satisfaction, unaware the woman's presence would soon ignite consequences far larger than a shady deal gone unnoticed. They rode in silence, the horse's steady rhythm blending with the distant rustle of wind over dry mesquite. Eli didn't pressure her to speak. He knew fear could make silence feel safer. The woman sat upright, calm but alert, scanning the landscape as though expecting danger from any direction. Eli noticed her attention drift to the mountains, her gaze lingering on the peaks where smoke signals sometimes rose. He had seen those signals before, warnings, messages, declarations. As the sun began to set, its red glow stretched across the desert, and Eli sensed this woman carried a story she wasn't ready to share. When they reached Eli's small cabin, a sturdy shelter built from weathered timber and stubborn effort, he helped her down and offered water. She drank carefully, almost ceremonially, before setting the cup aside. After a long pause, she finally whispered her name, Niala. Her voice was soft yet strong, carrying a quiet weight. Eli nodded, respecting her pace. Still, questions burned in his mind. Who tied her? Why sell her? What danger followed her? Before he could ask, distant echoes drifted across the night, faint drums carried by the wind, steady and slow. Niala stiffened instantly, fear and hope mixing in her eyes. Eli recognized the sound too. Tribal drums rarely reached this far unless something serious was unfolding. Nyala stepped outside, her posture shifting from tense to resolute, like someone preparing for a truth she could no longer hide. Eli watched carefully but calmly. She pointed toward the distant ridges. "They're searching," she murmured, almost to herself. Eli considered her words. Searching for her, for those who took her. The night air grew colder as the drums faded. Nyala wrapped Eli's spare blanket around her shoulders and whispered, "I was taken from my people. They think I'm gone forever." Eli listened without interrupting. Nyala continued, her voice steadying with each word. She explained that raiders ambushed her group, capturing her not out of conflict, but out of greed. They knew ransom could spark tension, maybe even war. But when plans changed and the raiders lost courage, they sold her to the trader instead. They believed no one would dare intervene, she added quietly. Eli's silence wasn't cold, just thoughtful. He knew now why her eyes carried both fear and strength. She wasn't just a victim, she was someone important, someone whose disappearance had already stirred unrest across the territory. Before Eli could respond, the crisp night fractured with the thunder of approaching hooves. Horses, many of them, move in formation, disciplined and decisive. Eli reached for his rifle, but did not lift it. Something told him this wasn't a threat, at least not toward Nyala. She stepped past him, eyes wide but not afraid. Moments later, silhouettes emerged from the darkness. Apache warriors, stern and proud, their leader dismounted, his movements powerful and controlled. When Nyala saw him, her breath caught and tears welled. She stepped forward and whispered one word, his name. The warrior froze, recognizing her instantly. The leader rushed toward her, pulling her into a fierce embrace. It was then Eli understood the truth he hadn't imagined. Nyala was not just any tribal woman. She was the wife of this warrior, the chief himself. The men behind him bowed their heads in respect, relieved and humbled. The chief turned to Eli, gratitude shining through the stern exterior. "You saved what others tried to steal," he said. "For that, our people honor you." Eli simply nodded, as silent as always. But as the Apache riders prepared to take Nyala home, Eli realized this moment would echo across the frontier forever. The sun dipped low as Eli guided his horse across the rugged desert, the sky bruised with orange and violet streaks. Behind him, Nyala sat silently, her breathing calm, but her eyes scanning the horizon like someone trained to read danger in nature's smallest signs. Though she spoke little, Eli sensed her trust slowly forming, like a fragile bridge between two strangers forced together by fate. When she finally whispered her name, it felt like the opening of a long-guarded door. But she offered nothing more, no explanation, no story, and somehow that silence spoke louder than words. As they neared Eli's cabin, the desert felt different, charged, alert, as if the land itself sensed something closing in. Smoke signals rose from distant ridges, swirling upward in deliberate patterns. Eli knew they weren't random. These were messages, warnings or calls sent across miles. Shadows moved in the high rocks, too purposeful to be coyotes or stray travelers. Nyala watched them with a quiet dread, her hands tightening around the blanket Eli had given her. She wasn't scared of him, nor the desert. She feared the storm building behind these signals, a storm that was clearly tied to her disappearance. By nightfall, Eli's cabin glowed softly under lamplight, casting long shadows along the wooden floor. He offered Nyala food and a warm place to rest, but she only sat near the door, listening intently to the night. The desert was strangely silent, no wind, no insects, no distant howls. Eli felt it too. Silence in the frontier was rarely comforting. Suddenly the ground vibrated, subtle, steady, unmistakable. Hoofbeats, many of them. Eli reached for his rifle, though he didn't raise it. Something in the disciplined rhythm told him this wasn't an outlaw gang. Whoever was coming, they were organized. Within minutes, riders emerged from the darkness, circling the cabin with methodical precision. Their silhouettes were unmistakable, Apache warriors, mounted on swift, sure-footed horses. They weren't hiding their presence, they wanted to be seen. Eli stepped out, keeping his hands low. He'd heard stories about their skill, their discipline, and their loyalty. None of the riders aimed their weapons at him, but every eye watched him sharply. Their leader rode forward, dismounting with the confidence of someone accustomed to command. His gaze